What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Backup Fantasy Sports. It is Wednesday, September 27th. My name is Ewan, and on today's episode, we're going to get into some fantasy Premier League with a double game week 7 preview. That's right. Luton and Burnley both have 2 games this week. Are we going to bring in their assets? I am not sure. We're going to get into that a little bit here in today's episode. We'll talk about the double game week. Are we getting off of Manchester United assets finally after their dismal showing at Burnley? And we are also going to look at another wildcard draft, as it seems every week it's getting closer and closer to activating the card, at least for my team. But let's get into a quick game week 6 review here. It did not go well for myself. 63 points, almost I think I doubled my rank. Last week I was in the 700Ks. This week I am 1,496,000. So not great, Bob. 63 points, captain Erling Haaland. I still got returns from 6 of my 11 guys. My one transfer was Nicholas Jackson to Julian Alvarez. Did not work out. Alvarez with 1 point thanks to Rodri's red card. Alvarez came off. Still got 0.3 million in the bank, but yeah, real rough. I was actually surprised. I mean, I knew I had like 63 points. I just didn't know how many points everyone else was going to score. Son Heung-min had a great day. Kieran Trippier was awesome. Matoma was awesome. So a lot of the highly owned players from the beginning of the season, because Trippier and Matoma are still like 30-40% owned. Mo Salah had a great Sunday as well. So that kind of all combined into a hurricane of doubling my rank in 1 week. And while it didn't tilt me into activating the wild card, I did make an early transfer like right then and there on Sunday night. So that was a little decision that I made there. I'm not sure how it's going to work out in the end, but it was Ben Chilwell to Sven Botman. I saw Botman was going to rise. I saw Chilwell was going to fall. Chilwell's just been terrible asset since I kind of brought him in, except for game week 3, much like all Chelsea assets. So took that opportunity as an excuse to get him out of my team. I am now done with Chelsea assets, so that feels good. But let's move on to some happier topics here this week. Got some fixtures. We've got 11 games this week. Let me take away this banner real quick so we can see that final 11th fixture. The game week starts off at 12:30 p.m. UK time with Aston Villa Brighton. Then we've got 8 games in Saturday in total. It's kind of crazy. I'm not really sure what the schedulers are going on there. I'm not sure what's going on on Sunday in the UK, but something important, I guess. But we got Bournemouth, Arsenal, Everton, Luton, Man United, Crystal Palace, Newcastle, Burnley, West Ham, Sheffield United, Wolves, Man City, all in the classic 3 o'clock games. And then a fantastic battle that I will definitely be watching. Spurs Liverpool Saturday night at 5:30. Then on Sunday, there's one game, Nottingham Forest Brentford, Fulham Chelsea play on Monday night, and then Luton and Burnley make up their game week 2 postponement on Tuesday. So lots of FPL action coming. Can I count 4 straight days of Premier League action coming to our screens? So that should be happy days if you just love watching football. Fixture ticker here. The final week that Burnley and Luton will be on top here with their double game week. Villa, Tottenham, Liverpool, Newcastle are the next 5. Some fantastic fixtures there. Fixture ticker from here is from Fantasy Football Scout, so shout out to them. And then the bottom 5 here, I have cut this off. Arsenal, Man City, Wolves, Crystal Palace, and let's see who is missing. I'm going to guess that's Brighton down there at the bottom. Apparently cropped that picture a little too tight. But yeah, Villa's got Brighton this weekend, then Wolves, West Ham, Luton, and Nottingham Forest. So they're going to be pretty popular on wildcards. I did make a wildcard draft that I'll get to later in the episode. and that will show up there as well. Tottenham with Liverpool at home, but then Luton, Fulham, Crystal Palace, Chelsea. That's quite nice if you want to double up on Sung Hyung-min and James Maddison. Liverpool's fantastic run is about to begin, but they have 2 fixtures to get through. They've got Tottenham away and Brighton away here in the next 2 game weeks, and then Everton, Nottingham Forest, and Luton back to back to back. So should be happy days. As for Man City, our assets, we've got Wolves this weekend, but then Arsenal, Brighton, Man United, Bournemouth. So quite a few tricky fixtures. And Arsenal, finally, I want to touch on them. Bournemouth, Man City, Chelsea, Sheffield United, and Newcastle. 3, 4-ish tough fixtures. 3 tough fixtures in there for Arsenal. And with the news that Bukayo Saka could be injured for this weekend's game, is it time to get rid of him from our squads? That is certainly in my thinking, as I am very open to taking a hit this week after my early transfer. But double trouble, everyone's talking about the double game week this week. Burnley play, Burnley and Luton have each other. Go back to the fixture sticker here. Burnley have Newcastle on the road, then they go to Luton, while Luton go to Everton, and then they welcome Burnley. Here are kind of 3 of the most owned popular assets from each team. So we've got Foster, Abduni, Kolyashu here from Burnley, not really feeling a ton of their assets. I know Bayer's pretty popular from Burnley, but Morris is kind of the main guy. He's the cover guy for this week's episode. He's the most, what you've heard around the FPL community, he's the most popular asset to bring in if you want to. He's got 26 points this year, 24.5 expected points thanks to Fantasy Football Hub's thing or their stat creator there, and 2.94 expected goal involvement. He does have 2 penalties this year. He's on penalties. He's got a game against Everton. He's got a game against Burnley. If you are wildcarding in game week 8, there aren't a lot better punts to take this game week than getting in Carlton Morris. I'm not really thinking about it. I've got Kabore. I'm going to plug him into my starting lineup and kind of be happy with some exposure to the double game week. But it's not one of those exciting double game weeks where, Man City you're playing and you can take a punt on Doku or Foden or whatever. This has really big vibes to the Burnleys and the Watford double game weeks that we all fell into a couple of seasons ago. Emmanuel Dennis, red card, ring any bells to anyone? No, just me with the emotional scars from that. Okay, we'll move on then. But double trouble here. I'm not super interested. Carlton Morris would be the option if you want to bring someone in. I have Kabore. I'm just going to stick with him for this game week. Ditching the Red Devils 2.0. I've already talked about this in a previous game week. That was game week 3, right before Man United played Nottingham Forest. And it worked out. Rashford got a return. Bruno got a return. Everyone was hunky-dory. But I decided to torture myself and watch all 90 minutes of that dismal showing from Manchester United at Burnley. They came away with 3 points, but it was shocking what they put on the screens and put out on the pitch for game week 6. I was just not impressed at all. Marcus Rashford, the vibes are terrible. Bruno Fernandes, I can kind of stick with. He seems like he's still the leader of the team, the soul, the heartbeat of the squad. They're not really getting it done all that well. But as you can see here, Bruno's he's got more goals. He's got more XGI. He's on penalties. He's already had 1 this year, and he's got more expected points than Rashford, as you can see here for the podcast. FPL points, Rashford has 24, Bruno has 29. Goals, Rashford has 1, Bruno has 2. Assists, Rashford has 2, Bruno has 1. XGI, Rashford's at 3.6 and Bruno's at 4.9. And then for expected points, Marcus Rashford is at 28.56, while Bruno Fernandes is 32.28. So Bruno's cheaper. He kind of just seems more like in the game than Rashford. There's just something off with Rashford. I know that the underlying stats are good for both of them. But if I was gonna hold on to one of them, it would be Bruno. I actually have both of them in my team, so Rashford to Son is the hit that I'm potentially thinking of this week. And if I see some price changes coming along and I just think I'm just gonna go for it, um, I think that will happen. I think I'll take my first hit of the season as people are making moves. I kind of want to keep up with the pack. A lot of people have Son now. I got a little bit of FOMO, and I don't really fear Rashford. I think on the FPL Black Box last week, Mark was talking about how he fears Rashford the most about players he doesn't have in his team. But after watching Saturday night's game, I think that is not the case anymore. I don't fear Marcus Rashford. But this is very similar to what we've just dealt with Chelsea. Because look at this upcoming run. Manchester United have Crystal Palace at home, Brentford at home, Sheffield United on the road, Man City at home, Fulham on the road, Luton at home, and then Everton on the road. Are we really getting rid of these guys right before this great run that's coming up here? My head says no, but then my eyes just watch Chelsea blow a bunch of easy fixtures and not get any returns, and they have terrible vibes, and it feels like Manchester United are in a similar spot with their kinda overall output and morale around the squad, so I think I'm gonna take the risk and at least get rid of Rashford this week. I'll probably keep Bruno just because he's on penalties. Man United have like 3 of their next 4 at home, Old Trafford. Man United get the occasional soft penalty there, occasional in air quotes, of course. But I think that's my thinking right now with uh, the Marcus Rashford situation and Bruno Fernandes. I'm not going to get rid of both of them. Keep some exposure to United just because they have good fixtures. But Rashford's more expensive. I can get Son. Bruno's on pens. Yeah. And especially after that Burnley game, I was just shocking. I could not believe how uninvolved everyone or like uninterested anyone looked in kind of attacking. They got the goal, which was a great volley from Bruno Fernandes, and just just nothing. Like I was expecting them to kind of kick on, maybe win like 4-1, but it just never came about. But so it might be bye bye Marcus Rashford this week. Wildcard draft, everyone's doing it. I did it last week. Gonna do another one because people are tilting more and more each and every week. People are trying to catch up to what is happening. So I kept a lot of the same guys from last week, which hopefully means that my thinking was on the right track. As of right now, I'm still thinking about wildcarding after game week 8, that second international break game. Couple more weeks of information, and then a couple of weeks to kind of construct a wildcard team, hopefully for the second quarter of the season coming up. But I would still have David Raya and Areola in goal. I'd get Botman, Cash, Gabriel, Kabore, and Udagi in my squad. Lots of cheap defenders there. I would just keep Kabore. He's got the double game week this week, 4 million. It's kind of attacking, just bench fodder at that point. Midfielders would be Diaby, Madison, Mo Salah, Sung Hyung-min, and James Ward-Prowse. That's kind of the big change. Ward-Prowse was really impressive in Liverpool's game against West Ham. He is terrifying to play against as my cat jumps on to the screen. Let's go over here, buddy. And up front, I would keep Erling Haaland, Julian Alvarez, and bring in Cameron Archer. That would bring me down from João Pedro to Cameron Archer there, save me $1 million. To be honest, when I made this wildcard team, it did make me think about activating it because I was like, this is kind of nice, kind of like all these pieces. I got Cash, I got Diaby, James Ward-Prowse. Like these are kind of nice, steady options that you don't have to worry about. You don't have any Man United. You don't have Saka or Odegaard or Martinelli, despite his injury. So that's risky. But Saka's injured. The upcoming fixtures aren't that great. Sung Hyung Min, he has a nice run of form. You want to get Salah in before his great run because he's just returning each and every week. He might be a captaincy option when Holland runs into his kind of tough run of games coming up here. So definitely something to think about. I will probably hold off one more week. I do try to hold off on the wild card as long as possible, but another big rank hit this weekend uh, could be time to activate it before game week 8. But I'm hoping I can avoid it with this squad. So right now I've got Pickford in goal, Kabori at the back, Shar and Botman, double Newcastle defense, Madison, Mbuemo, Rashford, Bruno Fernandes, and Saka in the midfield, and then Julian Alvarez and Erling Haaland. Like I said, made my early transfer to Sven Botman. Currently, FPL Review has me at 62.1 points. Fantasy Football Scout has me at 62.8, and Fantasy Football Hub has me at 66.3. I'd have a Stupinan, Gabriel, and João Pedro on the bench there, along with Matt Turner as well. It's not great. It's not bad. I think it's like all of these players are very capable of returning this week and kind of just like bouncing my team back into the top 1 million, and the teams that wildcard or had great weeks, like those guys could blank. But it doesn't feel good to not have Sung Hyung Min, and it doesn't feel good to have Marcus Rashford. So I think that's going to be my 4-point hit, despite Madison and Saka being flagged right now. We'll wait for at least Friday's press conferences. There is Carabao Cup tonight. That's about to kick off in 15 minutes for a lot of teams. So we'll see if like Saka's in the squad or whatever. Maybe that would give a good indication. Actually, I can just look that up right now. But by the time this video posts, it'll be too late, so it won't matter. But yeah, Madison, Saka, yellow flagged. Not too concerned about Saka long term. I can maybe bring him out this week for Son. I might have the funds to do that. I don't think so. I think Rashford has to be my option there. And then James Madison, he's been yellow flagged a couple of times this year, so not too worried about him. On Postecoglou, hopefully I nailed that pronunciation, should kind of give us a heads up on Friday. Transfers, FPL Review, kind of saying that I should go João Pedro to Morris. I guess that'd be more fun than getting rid of Marcus Rashford to Sung Hyung Min. Or I could get Chilwell out to Dallo. This was thinking that I still had Chilwell before I updated it. Not going to go with Dallo after I just torched Manchester United in that last little topic there. But João Pedro to Morris, tempting, but I'm not going to wild card, so then I'd have to get Morris out of my team, so not really interested in that either. And Fantasy Football Hub wants me to roll the transfer. Oops, too late. And then they are in similar thinking with me, Rashford to Sung Hyung Min. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of Backup Fantasy Sports. Hopefully you enjoy it. Hopefully the content is getting better throughout the season. If you could, I would love for you to like and subscribe, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Almost at 100 subscribers. So that would be great. We'd love that by the second international breaks. And you can follow me on Twitter at UN or you out. I guess that's X now. Everyone keeps calling it X. I'm like, you guys we're just giving up on Twitter. Okay, so follow me on X at UN or you out. But good luck in game week 7. Hopefully if you bring in a Burnley or a Luton player, hopefully they return for you and it all works out. I'm not really going to be getting there myself. But once again, thanks for listening, and I will talk to you next time.